Alright, hello there. uh, so I've been looking around at some Nintendo activity. I've been looking at, news, videos, stuff like that, and other stuff. And I have this really strong sense that something is possibly near for Mario Kart. I know it's been Sega, there's been a lot of you could easily see distractions going around or Sega, Sonic, this new racing game that Sonic released, Cross Worlds and the stuff and such, and it's really easy, especially these days, to underestimate Nintendo. A lot of people do. Nintendo had years releasing on a weaker hardware and somehow still making more sales, right? More sales or sometimes equal sales compared to, like competitors, PlayStation, the stuff. And I have this really strong sense that Mario Kart is getting ready to shake everything. Like most Nintendo Switch games that I came across, they're like around 40 something to 50 something gigabytes in total, right? And as of right now, Mario Kart World is only, I would say, 21, around 22 gigabytes. And that is teeny for something that's supposed to be around PS4 or PS5, but around PS4 Pro potential, right? That's really teeny. That's like half, I would say 50%. We had DLC recently launched for Donkey Kong Bonanza, right? Not too sure off the bat, offhand, from how much bigger that made the game. I can't say that right now, but I can see people being really, really, really brainwashed into underestimating Nintendo and what is really going on here. So I'm gonna go ahead. There, you can see some trophies here. I already went ahead and did some races on my own. I'm acquainting myself because I'm like mid-generation. I didn't grow up on Super NES. The first Nintendo system that I had, believe it or not, was a Nintendo GameCube. I'm mid-generation, so I'm like literally playing this blind. Maybe that's good for me. Maybe. So we're gonna go ahead and push through these cups, and this is a really nice game though, to be honest. Like uh nothing wrong. I was expecting less, to be honest, but when you compare, this is Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and the Mario Kart on Game Boy Advance is basically this, just upscaled and given more content and the such. That's why they even named it Super Circuit. It's like a direct reference to this. So uh yeah, it's not much too different from, I think Game Boy Advance literally is a handheld Super NES, just with like a bit more details added on. So you aren't going to see much difference here. Just think Game Boy Advance and you'd pretty much understand what this is that we're looking at right now. So I'm going to start with this, and there we go. First lap. Go on ahead and pull a kind of Mario Kart marathon per se. I'm not too bad at Mario Kart either, so I'm never wrong. For too many years, for like over a decade, I'm never wrong about these things. So why slack and wait, right? Alright. So first thing that's mainly different or odd here, for those who've never seen this game yet, we have, usually you get your item blocks. Those item blocks are in the middle of the course or whatever. You drive through them and you collect your items. But we've got these panels, and they made a direct reference to this too in Mario Kart World. No spoilers for those who like to, you know, experience things for themselves, but they kind of made a similar reference. These controls are so clunky, like bad, compared to, you know, more recent titles. So excuse me, there it happens. All right, so your items are usually, you know, three-dimensional things on the stage, but what they did, they placed these little floor panels, and you get your items from those. You drive over those, and whatever item you get, that's the major difference here. I was surprised though, like this is the only game that did that as far as I know. It literally is. Even after Nintendo 64's Mario Kart 64 launched, we had basically those three-dimensional blocks. You drive through them to get your items, and they definitely made a reference to this in Mario Kart World, and that's very interesting because I've played pretty much every Mario Kart since, except this one. Somehow, I never got around to emulating this or anything of the sort, so I have it on my Wii, the Virtual Console, and I never played it for whatever reason. I've been busy, you know, playing other games, life, tolerating the islanders. I've been born on the island of Barbados, so it's always there's cozy time, you could say, but everything is, I would say, dramatized. Perfect word to use. Just to keep, they don't like the place to be a bit too quiet, or you don't want the island to get too quiet, do you? Reasons I've been thinking up for myself, but things are never too quiet around here, and it's been from one drama to the next. So whatever game, you know, catches your eye more, you end up playing that, right? And that's it. I never really got around to, you never had reason to do it. Like, wait, this came out even before Nintendo 64. We've got Mario Kart Double Dash from the time I was, you know, a little kid, old enough. Mario Kart Wii. We've got Mario Kart 7 on the Nintendo 3DS. Why would I play this, huh? Like, take the time to when we've already got Mario Kart Super Circuit on Game Boy Advance, and this is basically like a downscale of that. So this is my first time playing this, and I'm just holding E and driving and steering, and this really proves how quickly video games can evolve. Like dying. Whoa. So this is, believe it or not, this is 50cc. 150 would be crazy, man. I've got to give it that. Gotta give it that. I mean, it's like, this is the speed we're driving at, and this is only 50cc. What about 100 and 150? Like, dang. Sure, most of these tracks by now. This track that we just drove on, that's in Mario Kart V. Wait, am I being mistaken? Right, they recently released it in the DLC for Mario Kart 8. This, I think, has a reference as well. A lot of Super NES tracks made their way to Mario Kart 8. So while it's playing, I'm just gonna go ahead and give my ideas here and what I think is really going to be going on. Alright, so we had every single Mario Kart game, you know, you're still gonna have some memory limits and such. Like I mentioned briefly earlier, for most of the time along Nintendo's lifespan, they made systems that were not the weakest, like they've still been good enough, you know, fun for the family based systems that focus more on character and storyline than hardware. and they've been down a bit, so you would have some form or fashion of content limitation. And whatever, track was, the most fave for uh for a Nintendo veteran maybe who played Super NES and such, you'd find a few Super NES tracks remade on Game Boy Advance. And as the newer titles came out, you would see more and more systems, the older systems will have their tracks added to the more recent games, right? But as I've just said, there's some form of memory limitation. So always in every Mario Kart game, you can't have every single Game Boy Advance track, every single Super NES track, all of the Nintendo 64 tracks. They had to pick and choose based on what was the most anticipated for that time, right? Or maybe possibly also what mostly fitted best with the graphics style or graphics engine that the system was using, Mario Kart Double Dash and the such. Getting where I'm going here. So what I think is going to possibly happen, and I'm someone who's really good at piecing together all the references and all the themes across games and such. And I'm going to make a brief reference here to Super Smash. So the same thing pretty much happened in, right, this is the final track for this cut. The same thing pretty much happened in, that is, I guess, Super Smash, right? We had a few, not all of them, of the stages, the battle stages from Super Smash 64 added into, that is, Super Smash Melee that was on the Nintendo GameCube. And later we had a few of them added into the one on Nintendo Wii, right? And it carried on from there. We had 3DS and Wii U, and they brought back some 64 stages and the such. And it's only when we got to, they managed to do this because maybe the games do have a lot of graphics, a lot of content, but the initial, like, you would say the battle system and such, there wasn't too much complication to cause the stages to be, massive in size each. So when Super Smash launched on Nintendo Switch 1, we got Super Smash Ultimate. They went ahead and launched every single 64 stage. Every single Nintendo and GameCube stage is on there. All of the Nintendo Wii Super Smash stages, all the way up to Switch, right? All the 3DS stages, even like the ones that they had like version exclusives, like stages for the Nintendo 3DS and the Nintendo Wii U, like all of them, every single stage ever created, every single character. And I told myself, this is amazing. But to do this for Mario Kart, like, they've got to step up the gear. And then shortly after that, I was thinking about this years back, right? Then shortly after that, we had some rumors and some, eventually some official news from Nintendo that a Nintendo Switch 2 is being created. And I instantly told myself, oh dang, this could be it. This is definitely it. Excitement. And Super Mario World, those who've played enough Nintendo video games to know about that one, they made a direct reference there. We had Super Mario 3D Land on the Nintendo 3DS, then we had Super Mario 3D World on the Nintendo Wii U, and they went ahead and named the most recent Mario Kart that we have on Nintendo Switch 2. They named it what? Mario Kart World, right? And we are on this, it seems to me like some form of island, I would say. We had those portals in Super Mario Odyssey, and I do see a repeating style when it comes to art and form, that sort of stuff. I see a repeating style here, and I do believe it is very possible. I'm not saying for sure, but it seems to me like Nintendo could be planning to do the same thing they did for Super Smash with Mario Kart. People have been complaining, oh, Mario Kart seems bland, the world is bland. Huh. This DLC, if they ever do create it for Mario Kart World could be huge. Nintendo never jokes around. Like every time they step up with their technology, they always used it to its capacity. I can see that being a repeating pattern throughout Nintendo's entire history so far. So we're in for something major here. This is my first episode. I'm just gonna end this off here. Thanks for watching. I have my reasons. I could do 50cc all the way through, but who in 2025, how many people do you think are gonna watch a whole 44-minute video of just Mario Kart racing? Everyone these days is very hectic. There's too little time to do everything. There's the clock speed up and such. So I'm gonna end it here, definitely. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.